because that's the big thing about Mandalorian is that uh, I have to wait until April's off of work on Friday to watch it because she really wants to watch it, and I want to watch it with her. You know, I don't want to. I want to experience. I want to experience it with her. So now let me ask this: are those episodes of the Mandalorian, did they come out kind of like Clone Wars did when we would, it would release on Friday at, for me it was 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Does it release the same time for you? So you've seen this last
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah. Have I seen the last episode? Did you say?
Yeah.
I've seen it twice.
Okay.
I watch it as soon as it comes out. I haven't been staying up to watch it. I've been watching it the next morning, and then in the evening we'll often watch it for dinner as well.
Right.
Watch it for dinner.
Well, and now
Dinner
since
viewing.
right, right. Now since I mean, I think you've kind of noticed what I've been doing is that the Saturday show I kind of let's not get in too crazy into spoilers, but I did want to ask you about it. I was hoping you'd watched it. Um, what did you think of it?
I've been enjoying the whole. I've enjoyed the whole season so far. It's one of those things where I've gone a lot easier on nitpicking because there are things in it where I think that's an odd decision. Why would he do that instead of doing something else, which seemed like it would make a lot more sense? But overall, I just enjoy it. I just go along for the ride with this show now, and like I do with the first season, and I've enjoyed all of them. I mean, there's someone who turns up in this episode that was so cool to see, and made me very appreciative of watching certain other Star Wars stories.
I was gonna
So
ask
yeah, I
that.
dug it. I would give it at least an 8 out of 10, probably even a 9 out of 10 if I was gonna. I haven't really thought about what rating I'd give it. Let's say 8.
Well, I can tell you,
So just really had a fun time with it both
I
times I watched it.
yeah, and I guess my thing is that I felt like the last episode felt like I almost feel like it was, and of course it is. It was half of the story, but it didn't feel like there was any. Oh, they got off the planet. You know what I mean? That was really the end of the episode. You're just kind of like, okay. And this one, man, I've told you about the moment, the kinds of moments that make me love something is when you're just like you almost just come out of your seat like, okay, holy crap. I literally yelled out loud, "Oh my god," when that moment happened. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. I the music kicked in and I was just like, holy crap, it's like the thing about The Mandalorian and the way that they've been marketing things and the way that things have been leaked, it's almost, it does a disservice to that initial moment of surprise. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I mean, we can talk about a little bit about spoilers in the first two episodes. I don't want to do it on the third, but like the first episode, you know, we got, now I'm going to say it wrong again. You say it, Morrison. How do you
Temuera
say?
Morrison.
Huh?
Temuera, or you can just say Temuera.
Right.
Temuera Morrison.
All right. So him, Boba Fett being basically reintroduced into Star Wars. The first time we've seen him post Sarlacc pit, it was like, holy crap, that was such a cool moment. How much more cool would that have been if we hadn't heard the reports of him showing up as Boba Fett in The Mandalorian season 2? It's like all of these things. We live in a world where we want it all now, and it does a disservice to the amount of surprise that you could get if you didn't know something was coming. So, like, if we hadn't heard about a certain person being cast in season 2 that's in this last episode, if we hadn't already heard that that was happening, the title of the episode would have been like, well, what does that mean? Instead, as soon as the title card came up, I'm like, okay, I know exactly who that is. I know exactly what's happening. I know what's coming. It's sort of like what I talked about Vader being in Rogue One. How much cooler would it have been if he hadn't been in the whole movie and the first time you saw him is when he ignites his saber on, at the end of that hallway. You would have been like, holy crap, we didn't know he was going to be in it. Instead, they showed the back of his helmet and his breathing in a trailer months before. I don't know. It's one of those things where there's that thing where you got to market the movie, you got to make people want to come see it, you got to make people excited, but come on, man, leave the surprises in there.
I don't think you can stop things. I'm not sure if you can stop things like that from leaking. Is there any problem? Like it's going to leak anyway, so embrace it. I think that's probably their attitude. Not so much with the Rogue One thing. I think with Rogue One they're going to market that anyway. But with the show, I don't see how you keep a lid on it, given how rabid a lot of fans are about getting information on these things, and given how massive the productions are. I guess I would just assume that it's impossible to stop it from leaking, so you just embrace it anyway. And then it's one of those things where I don't think there's a way around it either, because you can't just avoid all of the news if you're passionate about these shows, especially you're doing what you do. I mean, but for someone who doesn't do a show about the news where they have to keep up with the news, I don't follow movie news religiously, but even I still find out about these things just because of the online circles that I move in, the chat groups and what have you. So
right.
I don't know. I just don't. I get what you're saying, but I don't see any other way to do it.
Well, it's like the Mandalorian, the season 1, the child. Nobody knew that was coming. They kept that on. I mean, that was a surprise for everybody, and it was like. And then you watched it just explode, the excitement that rippled through the internet. And it became a phenomenon because it was such a surprise. And it was like, how in the hell did they keep this a secret? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And it's like, you look at how that was received versus how this was like, oh yeah, cool. But no, I don't know what you call this. We've talked about it. It's that weird thing where I almost forget how to use my brain during a movie or a TV show. The beginning of the episode starts, the title card comes up, I go, yeah, I'm pretty sure I know who that is. Completely forgot about what the title of the show was by the time we get to the part where things happen, and you know what I'm talking about. I just feel like, just keep the surprises. Quit marketing the stuff and agents. If one of your actors is going to be in a big high profile show, don't ruin it for people. Come on. I just think about that and I'm so irritated that the fact that we knew that he was going to be in it. Think about how that would have been at the end of that episode, and he turns around and you're like, okay, what the hell? Even though there was the whole thing about the jingling spurs and all that stuff in season 1, I don't know. Am I beating a dead horse here? I don't know. I feel like I am.
No, it's always fun to see you get mad at things. I've always been one of the reasons I've followed you for so long is that you're funny when you get mad at things. So I agree with you that it would have been cooler in both instances if it had been a complete surprise. And yeah, it's a good point about how they keep Yoda under wraps. And I wonder if, like you sort of hinted at there, if it's easier to do that if you're talking about a thing that's a puppet and a CG puppet / CG creation, depending on the scene, versus an actor. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I mean, I think some. It's almost like I feel like you've got your Deadline and Variety and Hollywood Reporter and Screen Rant, all those different sites. It's almost like they have spies that work at agencies. And when they hear about a casting call or they hear about a meeting taking place, and that's how like Mads Mikkelsen is in talks to replace Johnny Depp for Fantastic Beasts 3. maybe it was just announced after Johnny put out his statement, but they didn't just do that in a few days. You know, you had to know that that had been in the works for a while. So how did that stay under wraps? You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
there's certain things where I'm like, I just don't understand the patterns. You know, about because you know they had to be Warner Brothers had to have been looking at that situation with Johnny and Amber Heard and saying, we need a backup plan. So what do we like? And then they went through the list and they contacted some actors. Mads Mikkelsen obviously was interested in playing the role, so they were like, okay, well, let's see how this plays out, you know. But if he's out, you're in. So it had to have been in the works for a long, long time. It's just like the Snyder Cut. They had to have known about that they were going to release it and they were going to do it months prior. And that's why Zack Snyder kept dropping hints all the time. It's because he knew it was already a done deal.
Right.
But anyway, I don't know. I just find that whole thing, the way that they decide to release information and not. And I just wish they would keep those things under wraps a little longer. Would have been a thing. But yeah, how happy are you that you got to look at some of those old Star Wars, the older Star Wars stuff that you had skipped prior? I mean, it
Yeah,
made
that's
that
so much depth, right?
it's I gotta be honest, man. I'm watching the show yesterday and I had to fight back a little bit of happy tears. I can't explain, it's such a simple thing, really, but I feel like the Mandalorian right now is almost like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are sitting cross-legged on the floor with all the action figures from the Star Wars saga, and they're just kind of going, I think this and this would work, and they just it's awesome. It really is awesome, and it does something to that fanboyish thing that's in my soul. It's beautiful. So
Yeah. Yeah, I thought they did a great job with their character too. Really linked up well with the other versions that we've seen.
yeah, I'm just
Felt like feels like all one story, you know.
well, I think that's the beautiful thing, right? Is that
Yeah.
when you can do that and when it works, man, it is so fulfilling if you're a fan. If you're not a fan, you just watch it and you go, "Oh, that was pretty cool." But if you're a fan, it means even more to you. And I think that's the thing that I think both of them. Filoni's been a master at that, you know, for years now. You know, sitting at
Yeah.
Lucas's table, you know, and learning from him. And then Favreau's been doing it for a long, long, long time. He did that a lot with the Iron Man movies. He would drop little hints of things, and if you're a fan, you're like, oh, and then like I was not a huge fan, so I was just like, oh, that was pretty cool. And then you see the YouTube video of the super fan after you get home from watching the movie, and you go, oh, that's what that was. That's actually really cool, you know, that they added that little detail in for the fans. I just love what they're doing, and I can't think of a better show right now. That's just all around just awesome. It's just so good, and the budget has
That's
to
better
have
than
been.
iRobot.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's touching that fanboy kind of thing for me. Of course, you know, I can't. I love it, but
Yeah, the second time I watched it, like I said, let's just say that not everyone in the room had watched the other shows and knew exactly who their character was, and the comments were, "Wow, she's badass."
yeah,
So I'll stop talking about it now because I'm giving away spoilers without trying to. But let's say the character was a hit, even with people who didn't know their character's epic background.
well, that's one of the things. In fact, it was because there's basically two set pieces. Again, trying to avoid the spoilers for those of you who hadn't watched it yet. But there's two action pieces, set pieces. The second one, the beginning of it, there is a shot, and if you know, it's just like I know you're looking for Dutch angles. There's a nice little Dutch angle at the beginning of that second set piece, And I thought of you when I saw it. And then there's it's almost like it kind of almost reminiscent of the action star turning away from an explosion as he's walking slowly toward the camera and not looking at it, you know? There's a shot, a specific shot that made me say out loud, and I quote, they're going to sell a shitload of stuff from this show. Because it was like, I just felt like, wow, the fact that they keep layering things on, it's so masterfully done. It's so nice to see. Caution, Mandalorian spoilers in the title. So, here's your warning, guys. If you don't want to hear us talk about the last episode of The Mandalorian that aired on Friday, which was yesterday here for us, be careful, because we're going to get into it
I'll be careful.
for a few minutes.
You'll be dead.
Yeah, exactly. So, oh, be careful. Oh, the Clone Wars episodes where if anybody was on a girder, it was like, oh, be careful. It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing. Even when I'm playing.
Oh, I was doing the. That was
no.
true. That was one of my favorite parts of our podcast. I was really thinking of I'll
Dr.
be
Evzon.
careful. You'll be dead. Yeah.
Right.
There's two things that I'll be careful always makes me respond with that, and something that you say often is, I feel like, and then you pause, and I always say, feel like what? I just can't help
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Well, it's like anytime that my favorites was the old picking up an onion ring and go, look, sir, droids, and see how many people give you that look of the, like, what the. Let's do it. Let's get into some of this Mandalorian, the heiress spoilers talk. So yes. So that's your warning, because here we go. Let's just get into it. Bo-Katan. Holy crap. Holy crap. When she showed up, that's when I went, oh my God, because I thought I knew it was gonna happen. But I didn't know it was going to be so awesome. It was shocking. It was shocking how good it was.
Did you expect that it was going to be rubbish?
Would you say rubbish?
Yeah. You didn't think I was trying to think of a word that's not American, as not American as possible. Like how Leon is on the chatter on the show, and he's talking about sausages. He's such a sausage, and it's such a non-American thing. And rubbish is not an American thing.
Well,
but you weren't expecting it to be so awesome. But The Mandalorian as a show has done a lot of awesome things. I think they've got a good handle on how to give a character a fancy, spectacular entrance, right?
I don't know. I guess for me, I just keep waiting for things to get bad. I know it's probably a defeatist attitude, but lately with Star Wars, that's what it has felt like. And I keep there's a couple of things that went through my mind during the episode, and I couldn't say them earlier because they're spoilery. But seeing this and seeing the way the care that they are taking with, again, almost taking this character from this area or this era of Star Wars and taking this one and this species of alien that we rarely see, the Quarren, and putting them all together, it's just, there's something about it that's just, it's beautiful. It's beautiful the way it's done. And it makes you go, why didn't they do 7, 8, and 9? Because I feel like that kind of care is what you needed for the end of the Skywalker saga,
Sure.
And I mean, I know we've talked about it. You can't compare it to something it can never be, but you have to judge it on its own merits. And when you do, and you go, yeah, I didn't like that, then at that point, I think you're free to think about the possibilities. Anyway.
So were you a fan of, putting aside that, it's going back sort of towards the start of more closer to the start of the episode, to use the Queen's English. the way that the Razor Crest entered the atmosphere, it sort of came down belly first, burning up like
Yes.
re-entry. Did you notice? You know who the director of the episode was?
Yes. And yes, I saw there was a tweet that was released earlier today saying that there were shots lifted almost directly from Apollo 13.
Yeah,
And see, I
it was
like
like a
Apollo
tribute to
13.
her father's movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Bryce Dallas
love
Howard, for anyone who's still listening, is Bryce
right,
Dallas
Bryce Dallas
Howard is
Howard.
Ron Howard's daughter, and Ron Howard made Apollo 13, and there's the famous shot in Apollo 13, which of course is about Apollo 13, that epic and amazing self-rescue mission where it comes down through the atmosphere and the bottom of the ship is on fire, or it's not on fire, but the shot of the Razor Crest coming through the atmosphere was very similar to that Apollo 13 shot.
Oh yeah.
So that was, if you're a nerd about space, Star Wars stuff, and real space stuff, that was a neat little nod.
Oh yeah. And it's like for me, I don't know the movie Apollo 13 so well that I would have picked up on the sort of borrowing of shots. But I remember as it was happening, I was thinking, man, that's really cool. And we rarely see re-entries in Star Wars. We've only seen
Yeah.
one other one, and that was the what is it? The can't remember the name of the ship, but it was
In
Grievous's
episode
ship
3?
in episode 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was really cool
So
to see.
the other thing I loved about the episode, and this might be because I've grown up on these islands, and also because Jaws is my favorite movie, but I just love that a lot of the episode was basically set in a seaside, like a seaside town on the docks, and they go out on this boat, this fishing boat, and it's so, even though it's aliens and what have you on the boat, I just thought it was fun to see how even in the Star Wars universe, there's these fishing villages and what have you, and I just thought that was a cool, fun
Absolutely.
setting.
Uh,
These sea dogs, squid men, and what's Admiral Akbar? He's like Mon Calamari, right?
mm-hmm.
Mon Calamaris, and who are
Yeah,
based on
I
fish
loved it.
as well.
Loved it. In fact, I was sitting there thinking about it when I haven't watched it again yet. I want to watch it again, trust me. But I just, I kept thinking, I think that this might be it might be my favorite episode so far.
What?
Even season 1. It was so, again, I have to give it that moment. That moment when they drop in on the ship was such a holy crap. What did I say? Oh my God. I think I went, oh my God. And it was just because it was the music kicked in, everything was perfect. And it gave me that moment, just like in The Dark Knight when the Joker comes around that guy and shoots with the shotgun. It's those moments that I can't remember what I used to call them. It's something with an expletive, I'm sure. But for me, it's that holy crap moment where you get that almost like you've gone over a hill and your stomach drops, and
Right.
it's that so much excitement. And that's what I got in this episode when Bo-Katan and the other two, they're not, what are they? What are they considered to be? Are they at a group? Is their group have name? I don't think so.
Yeah, I
They
don't know
were,
where things are at that point. I don't know enough of the lore stuff. You're more of the lore guy than I am, so if you
well,
don't know, I don't know.
right, but she was a member of Death Watch, with Pre Vizsla back in the
Sure.
Clone Wars. Right? She splits off, and that's where I get foggy because I can't remember the transition from her in Clone Wars at the end with the Siege of Mandalore, because she's basically ready to take control, but then Sabine ends up with the Darksaber in Rebels. So I'm like, I can't remember how all that plays out. You've actually seen Rebels or more recently than I have. I can't remember how that plays out. And it's almost like I know there's going to be a YouTube video or a website that's going to break it down and say, hey, you want to know the history of Bo-Katan? Watch these episodes of
Sure.
the Clone Wars and Rebels. They've got to do that. And I need it because I feel like I need almost like a refresh, But man,
How did you like the scene when they something I didn't want to mention before, because some people will even consider the fact that there are Imperials in the episode a spoiler, but
Yes.
the fact that the sort of heist scene is an Imperial or ex-Imperial ship, so there's stormtroopers galore. But the best part is not the stormtroopers; it's the it's the two captains, especially the main skipper of that transport ship.
Hmm.
I don't know who that actor is, but I really enjoyed his performance, and the two pilots as well. They're sort of looking at each other, these sort of two young guys, unfortunate young guys. I love that the dude was super tanned as well, which made me think of sort of called back to the Marine elements of the, even though he's a spaceship captain and not a ship captain, but you think of ship captains as being very tanned, and so I like that as well. I just thought it was a fun performance, sort of a classic Imperial officer performance. That
Uh,
was a lot of fun too, and the way that he sort of went down and went out at the end. There's
yeah.
this, especially love that shot when he has almost like a double take moment when the his second in command, I guess, says, "We've trapped them in the cargo hold." And he
Yeah.
says, "Okay," and he says, "You've trapped them where?" And they cut to that shot of the doors opening, and then they'll get sucked out or blown out into space
It was.
or out into the atmosphere.
Yeah, that's I had to look up his last name. I knew it was Titus, but it's Titus Welliver who plays he plays Bosch, the series Bosch, and then he was
Okay.
also the Man in Black on Lost.
Okay.
In the later seasons, which I don't know if you ever got that far, but
No.
yeah, I've
But
been a
he,
fan
he
of
was good.
his. Huh?
No, but he was good. I just enjoy the way that they play these moments. It's all editing, right? It's cutting
Mm-hmm.
from a look on a face to an action beat, and it's all about editing pace, the way that they sell these jokes, and it's sort of the
Yeah.
slow zoom onto him going, "You've locked them where?" And it's basic pulp adventure
Yep.
storytelling. This is not like high art per se, but there is definitely an art to it, and I think they nail the comedic moments
Yeah,
pretty
and
well in this show. I think Favreau and Filoni, I guess, alongside him, have a real good handler. Although Bryce Dallas Howard, right? She's directing this episode, so
yeah, but John
give
Favreau
her
wrote it.
credit. But we're talking about the filmmaking, right? It's the
Right.
edit. So
Mm-hmm.
it's always one of those things with TV shows. A TV show director is not the same as a film director, right? They're really the owners of a TV show story are the showrunners, whereas the owner of a feature film story is the director. So
Right.
how much credit you give Bryce Dallas Howard for that, I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But I'm just saying I think they do a fun job of selling those comedic moments in these shows.
Yeah, and you have to give her a lot of credit, I would say, because last season
Okay, I will then,
the episode with the
if I have
ATST,
to.
it was great.
Right? Yeah.
So,
Right.
but at the same time, you also have to realize that they're all working very closely together, you know? Um, but I mean,
Then I do realize that if I have to,
yes,
realize that. Then I do.
yes. Well, it's just like, when people say they can't wait. Yeah, you can.
You
You
can and
can.
you will.
You
I
can and
can't
you
wait.
will.
You can and you will.
But man, there's so much about that episode that just it works so well. It's the little nods to earlier Star Wars, and I'm not talking about Bo-Katan. I'm talking about the Quarren and like
Yeah.
you said, the Mon Cala, all of that stuff. It doesn't just. I mean, he didn't say something like, "Be careful, it could be a trap." I mean, they could have done that.
Right.
They could have done that, but they didn't. And there was a lot of restraint there. I didn't honestly. As soon as it happened, I in my head I was like, I should have seen that coming. When he knocks the child into the water, I should
Yeah.
have
When
seen
you watch
that
it the
coming.
second time, it's super obvious. Like, oh,
Yeah,
this guy. And even when he meets him in the bar and he says, "I'll take you to them," and he goes, and you go, "Oh,
yeah,
that's an evil laugh."
yeah.
Why didn't I pick that up the first time that he was going to be a bad guy?
The only thing, I guess that's the only thing, is that I'm a little irritated that I know this is something no one cares about, but it's because I'm me and
I
because
care.
I'm a dork. Well,
See, there's a
thanks.
Star Wars quote for everything, Robbie. I
Oh yeah.
care.
Yeah.
And if you're not a Star Wars fan, you don't even know that I
Oh
care
yeah.
is a Star Wars quote. It's like the that's impossible, even for a computer.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound
Or
like a Star Wars quote, but I use it all the time as a like it's just fun. It's just dumb. It's dumb fun to
yeah.
employ these Star Wars quotes and moments that
Right.
pretty much entertain only me and you, of course, because you know what I'm
I
talking about.
love it. I love that stuff. But the Quarren, why do they always got to be? They always got to be villains. Is there a good Quarren? I'm pretty sure there's got to be,
That's
but
right.
it's just one of those things. I was a little irritated. That was like, oh, again. So they're the bad guys again. Okay. Now I'm not saying that like in the last episode we need good spiders, but I'm just saying it's. I don't know.
That would have been funny if one of the spiders was good and they're trying to find their way out of that warren that of mazes, and then one spider comes around the corner and goes this way, this way.
Yeah. He's
So
like,
the spiders is helping them to go out.
yeah, follow the good one. But like that's one of the things I've always loved about Lucas is that sometimes he will do that where, especially if it's the fauna in the episode or in whatever we're watching, sometimes they appear to be very hostile and mean and whatever when really they're not. Like in episode 1, the big almost eel looking thing that chases them outside of the cave. On a second watch, you realize that there are babies along the wall. It's just a mom protecting her nest. Then it's even more tragic when the big thing clamps down on her or whatever. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, it's nature, right? Which is kind of cool.
In this show, it happens in this show too. The mudhorn was just protecting its egg. Like you look at that episode from the other angle, they're raiding an innocent creature's nest, and if you follow the force, if you love the force like us, you're supposed to, like Master Yoda taught us, embrace nature, right? They raided a mudhorn's nest, and now every time you look at his armor, he's got that mudhorn that's his signet, and it reminds you that the Mandalorian is an enemy of nature.
he's an agent of chaos.
Even in the previous the first episode with the Krayt Dragon, there's even a line where the people in the village say, yeah, that Krayt Dragon has been around these parts since long before this village was here. So it's mankind encroaching on nature. And who has to pay for it? The Krayt Dragon.
That's true.
Who is the real villain is what I'm saying, Robbie.
It's all about point of view, right?
Who is the most dangerous creature in the universe? Is it man?
Or rancors?
Yeah, we haven't seen any rancors yet this season.
Yeah,
maybe this time. There's still time.
I think we need some rancors. We need some huts. Look, there's plenty that we could see, but that's one of the things that I love about it is that they have a really good way of introducing or reintroducing some species of old that we had seen before without getting, the hey, remember the thing with the thing when they did the thing? Yeah. Yeah, they're doing it it works in the story, which is, again, I love it. I love it.
And they hit just the right line between, like you were saying before about how the Mon Cala could have said something about a trap. It would have been too on the nose.
Right.
Whereas just like in all of Dave Filoni's and his other two shows, when they are coming into landing, Mando says, almost there. Almost there.
Yeah.
Like that's a Star Wars quote, but it's not one of the iconic quotes, so it doesn't feel on the nose. It doesn't draw attention to itself.
Right.
It's just a bit of fun,
Right.
It's like and the other thing is that, I mean, there's no aliens in this that we haven't seen before, but one of the fun things about Star Wars that has set it apart from serious sci-fi, that reminds us that it has a sense of humor about itself, and we've talked about this many times, is how a lot of the aliens are based on creatures from our world. I mean, there's the previous episode where what's her name, the Amy Sedaris character is playing is it Sabak, she's playing with basically an ant. It's an alien, but it's basically an ant, right? And here we've got the squid man and the man who looks like a shrimp. And of course, this episode and the last episode, the lady who's basically a frog or a salamander. It's just fun how the aliens,
Right.
not only they're puppets, so it's almost like watching the Muppet Show a lot of the times, especially with Baby Yoda and the little baby frog
Yeah.
tadpole thing. It's complete Muppet Show stuff, but it's so fun. And even Baby Yoda himself, it feels like in this season, they're doing a lot more of the puppet Baby Yoda and not even really hiding that it's a puppet. It's almost super
Yeah.
obvious that it's a puppet. It doesn't matter. It's just fun, you know. It's all part of the fun. That it
Yeah.
doesn't look it doesn't look real. But yeah, it's Star Wars. It's not supposed to be. This
But
isn't
it's
hard
still-
sci-fi. It's a fairy tale.
It's still good though. It's really, really well done. And I think especially what this episode did, I think why it was so like big for me is the fact that you've got an animated character now into live action. I didn't realize how much that was going to mean to me.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I was almost on the verge of tears at some parts of the episode because I'm just like, I knew they were going to do it. I just didn't know it was going to be so good. Like, because
So
that's
is this
really
the second time that's happened after Rogue One
with Saw.
with Saw?
I
Is this only the second time that's happened where an animated character has turned up in live action Star Wars?
well, I think so. But like Cobb Vanth, from the first episode, he was a character in Aftermath, one of the books that came out
Okay.
before Force Awakens. So it's one of those things like they're
Wait,
literally
the sheriff, you mean?
Huh?
Timothy Oliphant, the sheriff character?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they're literally taking from all pieces and all kinds of media, which is so different than what happened in Rise of Skywalker when they were just like, he's like, Poe actually joined the Resistance, very early, and he he's a smuggler. Wasn't that a lot like Han? He's a smuggler. That's what they did. Yeah. They completely, like, what are you doing? This has, there's so much care involved in the way that they're doing this, and it all works together. And it's like, you know what? If you're a fan of Star Wars, you're going to get it and you're going to enjoy it. And if you're not a fan of Star Wars, it's going to go over your head, in which case you're just going to enjoy what you're given. It's great. It's really, really well done. But that's what I really want to hear. I want to hear from someone who isn't a huge Star Wars fan, and they just watch the episode and watch it play out. Does it make sense? And you said that it does. Yeah,
like I said, I watch them with my wife, and she is a fan. I mean,
yeah.
She sometimes wants to do this when Baby Yoda's in peril, but aside from that, yeah, she's a fan of the show.
Yeah,
but she has never watched any of the Clone Wars. She's never even watched the prequels yet. That's one of those things
that's great.
That I've sort of that I haven't subjected her to yet. I shouldn't say that. That's like old style Bucho talking. One day we'll watch them. But yeah, she's not big into Star Wars at all, but she still enjoys the Mandalorian.
And see, that's the thing that I think is really, I think it's a testament to how good, how good of a job they've done, is that it can work for everybody. It's not just a little piece of cake for the Star Wars fans. It's a piece of cake that everyone can enjoy. It's cake with bacon on it. I mean, how can you? I don't even know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I always struggle with the food analogies. You know me. You know how I complain about people talking about consuming content and what have you because I don't like the food analogies. I think of these things as journeys more than anything.
Yeah,
that's a journey that anyone can go on.
I'd really like to hear what you think, so please leave your comments below on what we talked about. And of course, consider hitting that subscribe button and give it a like if you enjoyed it. It really does help, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.